Morning, everybody. This is Tuesday. It's another damp, foggy start to the day. Yeah, there's that cornfield I'm sitting beside is going to be terribly wet to walk into, and it will continue to be wet for probably the next few hours. And I've got some other things to do, so we're shooting this video here first thing this morning. Topic, obviously, to no one's surprise, corn's coming into the period of silking. Over the next week to 10 days, the fungicides are going to go out. So let's talk corn diseases and fungicide. So let's get into this. If you listened to my last video on soybeans and white mold, you know that I referred to, this thing called a disease triangle, where you need the susceptible host, you need the disease present, and you also need the environment that promotes the development of that disease in a significant way. So let's talk about that real quick. We certainly have, at the moment, we have an environment for disease outbreak. It's humid. There's been rain. It's wet. More rains in the forecast. The humidity, particularly within the canopy, the humidity is going to persist. The leaf wetness is going to persist. The dampness on the silks when they really begin to emerge. That time that we're going to be spraying, which looks like for that mid green silk period, is probably 7 days, 10 days away. So at that point, we can't tell whether we've got the disease, so we kind of have to set that one aside a little bit. The third thing is the crop itself, and this is the point I really want to hammer. The primary defense against the three main diseases that we're concerned about, whether it be northern corn leaf blight, gibberella ear mold, or the new kid that has a lot of people concerned, tar spot, the primary defense is the hybrid. It is the genetics. And what I mean by that is if you have a hybrid in your field that is highly susceptible to any of those three diseases, and those diseases are present, you'll suffer far more damage, regardless of whether you use whether you use a fungicide or not. The damage that will occur with the level of disease and the lack of tolerance in the hybrid, you will still have a significant issue with any of these diseases. When you get a tolerant hybrid, and there's no such thing as resistance, but there certainly are degrees of tolerances to the various diseases. If you have a tolerant hybrid and you couple that with a fungicide, the economic response, the economic value to that fungicide will be much easier to realize, because it will get you down, from a cash grain point of view, it potentially can get you down under that 2.5 parts per million, allow you to deliver corn to the elevator, and they won't hammer you too much with any kind of grade discounts. Around dairies and people that feed corn, we know in swine that it's bad news. So if jib outbreak, if you have a jib outbreak, and let's focus on jib for a second, if you have the jib outbreak in swine, it's big problems. Around a dairy, the equation is a little bit different, and I've talked to a lot of you about this. When it comes to specifically Dawn, and there's more than one toxin produced by jib ear mold, but Dawn's the one that everybody focuses on. When it comes to Dawn in a dairy, it's not as big an issue as some folks make it out to be. Ration formulation does a lot. Binders deliver a fair significant degree of value. Yeah, they cost some money, but they would deliver a lot of value when it comes to Dawn. And dairies can feed Dawn infested corn silage and sometimes get along just lovely, and really it won't affect production at all. Where I think that the dairy side has to be a little bit more cautious on, and that's the zearalenone component when we have jib ear mold. Zearalenone is a hormone. It really kicks the crap out of sow herds. It kicks the crap out of reproductive animals. And I think it has some effect that in respect to the dairy that can influence the difficulty in getting cows back in calf. That's the one thing that we've had experience in the past that dairies have sometimes commented with infected gibber-infected corn silage and gib-infected cob meal, that rebreeding intervals start to widen out, and that has certainly an economic impact around the dairy. Let's talk tar spot now. It's a new thing, a new kid that has a lot of people with their radar up. And there's no question, tar spot can be a huge problem. It can really kick the crap and significantly affect yield levels. I have talked about already. There is some genetic tolerance to it, but fungicides will deliver a fair degree of value and give you pretty good tar spot suppression if you get the disease. Now, at the current, we've already talked a little bit about that. We can't find tar spot in this area whatsoever at the moment, and I don't think we will over the next week. It is in spots. It's along the North Shore Lake Erie and in the few traditional hot spots. There's a bit of tar spot showing up now, so it has the potential to move up. But let's. I'm going to show you a little bit about what tar spot actually looks like. This is a picture of a leaf back that I took in September 2021, 2 years ago. Drawn a red circle around the tar spot lesions. They are little black flecks. Some people think they look like fly crap. Another way they're described is if you take a paintbrush with black paint and flicked it against the leaf, you'll get these spatters of black speckles. And certainly does look like tar applied to the leaf. This infection in 2021 came in late, and it really was not a significant threat to yield. And that's the key thing about tar spot. It actually has to infect the plant relatively early in the process to manifest and really start to beat that plant up and cost us major yield. If it comes in late, it's not something that we're terribly concerned about. That being said, I know fairly confidently that the majority of the fungicides that will go out this year will have a tar spot component in their package. The Delero completes the Valtimas will be, I'm sure, the more popular choices. Regardless of price, Valtima is a premium price product, and you're looking at the current prices that, what I understand, the time you get these products on, if you have to pay for the custom app, you're going to be $35 an acre invested in Miravis, and you'll be closer to $45, maybe even $50 an acre invested in Veltima. Veltima certainly delivers far superior tar spot suppression than Miravis. So, depending on your point of view, the extra investment in a Veltima, in a Delero, can be warranted. I'm not going to argue one way or the other. Conversely, if you are the type of producer that really doesn't, concern yourself about fungicide use on corn, I'm going to show some data that maybe will support that view. This is Pioneer data they published a couple of years ago. 13 years worth from 2007 to 2020, 2,000 side-by-side trials. Yeah, granted, most of them from the American Midwest, but I don't think that is a huge factor in the as it applies to us. 7.4 bushel acre advantage to use of fungicide over those 14 years. Over the 13 years. My own experience here over a similar time frame, I don't think that's wildly far off. Yeah, there's years we've seen 10 or 12, but there's just as many years where it's been 2 to 3. And even a year like last year in 2022, where the advantage to fungicide was essentially nothing. Now the new kids, the new people will say, well, those are older products. The new products are far superior at delivering control. That's maybe fair, but the proof of that pudding's yet to be seen. I just checked elevator bids at the moment here right now, and it's in that 675 bushel range. It's been bopping around, as everybody knows, for a bit, but let's take that 675 bushel value. We've got to dry it, so we don't get 675. We'll end up closer to 6 by the time the drying and the shrink all gets taken out of the deal. So, for $45 an acre by 6, you're talking 7 bushels just to repay the value of that fungicide, and that doesn't put anything extra in your pocket. So I'm not against, this is not, please don't take this as a reason to not use fungicide. The value this year is likely going to be certainly up in that range given the disease profile we're going to have. But in the same breath, we have to fully appreciate that if you don't want to spend that $35 to $45 an acre, that's perfectly fine with me. I don't think that choice is necessarily wrong either. And the reason I say this is just to provide a little comfort, a little counterbalance. If you listen to the ag advisor industry, listen to the retailers, they're pressuring people into that. It get crazy if you don't use fungicide. My point of view is this, that if you really want to keep that $45 in your pocket, I'm perfectly fine with that. It's not necessarily a horrible choice to keep that in your pocket and don't bother to pay the dealer and the custom app guy and the chemical suppliers. Don't give them all your money either. Personally, we're going to use the product. We're going to probably we'll use one of the tar spot suppressant fungicides. I know that right now. And I'd like to think we're going to try a little bit without fungicide, but we'll see how that works out as well. Other than that, I hope I've shed a little bit of light on things and helped you through the thought process of this corn disease fungicide issue. And gosh, it sure be nice to have the weather straighten around, dry some of these wheat fields back out and get back at that project. Anyway, have a great week. Keep smiling, and we'll be talking again to you. Thank you.